I don't know what you did, but you sure sound better than you did before. You
I know
sound
what I did.
louder and clearer.
Yeah. No, there's something that you're supposed to click to have original sound on. And one day I forgot to put that on, and all of a sudden I sounded good. So, okay, so I'm not going to push that anymore. So so it's not original sound. It's unoriginal sound, but it's actually sounding better. So that makes me happy. Very good. Well, welcome everybody. I can't see all of you. I can see names of most of you. There are now 21 participants in this class. What a wonderful thing. This is book number 134. And today we're going to do 2 songs because there's just not that much to teach in either one of them. I'm going to try and do a couple of things with transpose and drum solos in both songs. Transpose and drum solos. So we're going to learn something. You all know the rules. Try to keep yourself muted while I'm playing. I'm going to allow you to mute and unmute at free will, but try to keep your unmutes to the questions so that we don't get a lot of background noise. Right now, David Sasnick, I still see your microphone is on.
Sorry.
No problem. No problem. Okay, so putting on the Ritz. I'm going to play it first, and I'm going to use song setup. This is one of the most complex rhythms in the big band era for big band standard songs. If you want to check out some other interesting rhythms, Fascinating Rhythm and In the Mood. Both of those songs give you a 3-note pattern in an 8-note beat. And you're always putting the emphasis on a different syllable, and so it makes it kind of interesting. So if you remember doing the In the Mood, it's always a different emphasis on each one. You're not putting an emphasis on the same note every time. Same thing with Fascinating Rhythm, works exactly the same way. This, however, they're doing kind of the same thing, but not only are they changing different syllables and different emphasis, they're also adding 8th notes to the mix. So they've got quarter notes and 8th notes. I have found that the easiest way to play this is to sing the lyrics. If you don't know the lyrics, go to YouTube and catch some of the people singing it. There's a whole bunch of people who did it, and memorize one of the verses, or just read the lyrics and do the lyrics, because that's going to be the easiest. Remember, this is easy play. If you try to count it exactly the way it's written in easy play, it's not going to sound right. You really have to play it the way it feels. If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? So if you just say the lyrics in your head while you're playing it, it's going to come out right. We'll talk a little bit more about who did the song and that kind of thing, but let me play it for you first. I put it on song setup. It comes up to Jumpin' Jazz at the really slow time of 200 beats per minute. Okay, so mute yourselves, and we're going to listen to the song setup for Putting on the Ritz. You can do this. You can do it. Yeah, this is one that you got to get that rhythm right, and you just got to feel it. So the only way to do it is to get on YouTube and listen, and listen, and listen, and listen. Any questions right now?
And more listening, and more listening.
And more listening, yes. I'll tell you what, though, it's a great finger loosener upper. So if you've got to play a concert sometime, this would be a great one to just get your fingers going. Okay, written by Irving Berlin in May of 1927. It didn't get published until December of 1929, so that's a year and a half later. It was introduced by Harry Richmond and the chorus in the musical film Puttin' on the Ritz of 1930. This was the first song in film to be sung by an interracial ensemble. An interracial ensemble. And in today's times, that seems, almost, wow, pretty pertinent. Putting on the Ritz means to dress very fashionably. It was inspired by the Ritz Hotel in London. And putting on the Ritz was a slang expression that they used in Harlem when the black people would go down the streets. And I know I'm being racist here, I'm sorry. No, this is just fact. When the people would go down the streets and they would just dress very fancy schmancy. Okay, and that was called putting on the Ritz. But the dancing in this is absolutely phenomenal, phenomenal. Okay, what else do we know? Also recorded by Fred Astaire and featured in the 1974 Mel Brooks comedy, Young Frankenstein. Now, if any of you thought that Gene Wilder was not a very talented guy, you have to look at this YouTube piece. He sings, he dances, it's amazing, and it's funny as all get out because he dances with his Frankenstein monster. Because of course, when you're a Dr. Frankenstein, you want to find a corpse, bring the corpse back to life, and then hit the vaudeville trail. Yeah, why not? Why not? That sounds like a perfectly good motivation to bring a corpse back to life, but it's funnier than all get out. So if you ever get a chance, just check out that YouTube and see how talented Mr. Wilder is with his monster played by Peter Boyle. Ella Fitzgerald also did this, and she's very precise with her lyrics, very precise. If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits? And you try saying some of these things. The next one's kind of difficult. Different types who wear a day coat, pants with stripes and cutaway coat, perfect fits. The emphasis is never on the word that you're expecting it to be on. So that's what makes this one a little bit harder. Now, any chord changes? Nope, it's just what's there. Yay! And I'm going to give you some fingering just to give you a start. And by the way, you don't have to play it at 200. Let's do some fingering. A2, C3, E5, low E1, A2, C3, E5, low E1, A2, C3, E5, low E1, A2, C3, high E5. Low E1, G sharp 2, B3, and D can either be 4 or 5, whichever finger gets there first. Then put a check mark, especially if you put a 5 there. E5, D4, C3, B2, A1. And then it repeats. Line 3, A2, C3, E5, E1, A2, C3, E5, E1, A2, C3, E5, E1, A2, C3, E5, E1, G sharp 2, B3, D4 or 5. And then if you put a 5 there, put a check mark. E5, D4, C3, B2, A1. Let's go to the second page. D1, E2, F3, G4, A5, G4, F3, E2, D1, D1. There's nothing hard about the fingering. It's just getting them fast enough. Put a check mark in that whole rest. C1, D2, E3, F4, G5, F4, E3, D2, C1, C1. Check mark. Very snappy. C4, C4, C4. B3, A2, C3, E5, low E1. A2, C3, E5. E1, A2, C3, E5. E1, A2, C3, E5. E1, G sharp 2, B3, D can be 4 or 5, and if you put a 5 on it, put a check mark at the end of that held D, and E5, D4, C3, B2, A1. Okay, fingering is not hard. What's hard is getting that rhythm right. And again, listen, 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 listen. Learn the lyrics if you have to, because that will help. And don't try to count it in easy play, because it will not sound, it's not going to flow right. If you try to count it exactly as it's written, it's just not going to flow right. Okay, let's see. Other rhythms. What other backgrounds can be used if you don't have jumpin' jazz? Quick step works very well. Underneath your foxtrot, Charleston works very well. Plain old big band with no variation works very well, but I do recommend taking off the orchestra plus. Frank and the Count, and again, take off the orchestra plus. Frank and the Count is also on the smaller instruments. It's the standard full band. Standard full band. Take part of your background down. Take part of your style down in volume. Not the whole thing, but part of it. And try it at 200. It's fabulous. Okay, so what did I do at the end of the song? I did a little bit of an FX, just a little bit of a fill. And then I did a no chord and a fill, and it turned into a drum solo. Why did I do that? Because when I did the transpose, you can't hear it. If you do a transpose while the background's going, you can hear it, right? And that's okay if that's the effect you want to create. I have a tendency to like to bring it in as a surprise. When you come in on the next verse, the second time through, it's a surprise. It's up half a step. So what I do at the end of the song, I did a little fill in, then I did a no chord, and then more fill in because that's your drum solo. And while you are holding this, then you can hit your transpose and you can't hear it. And that way, when you come in again, then it's half a step up. It's just a neat little trick to give you a little bit of drama, a little bit of a surprise. Make sense? Any questions? I'm going to play it now on a quick step. Ooh, this one's going to go really super fast. Sounds almost the same, doesn't it? Oops. You can fade it out. You can use an ending. Some of your endings there are absolutely spectacular. Or like I did, you can just repeat that last phrase, putting on the Ritz. And the chords that I used were A minor, D minor, E7. On the E7, putting on the Ritz. A minor, D minor, E7, putting on the Ritz. And end on A minor. Questions?
Dawn, this is Joy.
Yes.
When you did the FX, no Ford FX, you then went back to the beginning, didn't you?
Yes, I certainly did. Yes. Yes. And played it twice.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. That just gives it a little more something to do with it. Yeah. Because if you just play it through once, it's so fast that it's just so short that you either have to combine it with another song, or you want to play it twice like I did, or 3 times if you want.
How high did you go on the transpose? Just once?
Just one half step. I just pushed it 1 half step up. So one push. I went from C to C sharp.
Dawn,
Yes.
did the transpose come at the very end or when you did the last 5 notes?
After I did the last 5 notes, instead of playing A minor, D minor, A minor, I saved that for the end. I just played the A minor chord, did a quick FX because it gives it a little bit of oomph. Then I hit the no chord and did the drum solo, because the drum solo gives me time to do the transpose. Let me do the last 5 notes again. And you can let this go as long as you want. See how that's a nice surprise when that comes back in? You're a half a step up. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Hey, Dawn,
Yes.
this is Marshall.
Hi, Marshall.
Hey, I got my book out finally. Listen, have you ever tried it with scat?
Ooh, I have not.
Throw some in there.
Throw some in there? Okay, let me see. Where would I find a good scat? Scat vocal. Category big band gives you a scat in number 7. Let's try it just for fun. Okay, the only thing with that, That's very interesting, by the way. But the only thing was with that is if your fingers slip a little, your scat singers sound like they're a little bit off. So your fingers have to be right on the money when you're playing scat.
Dawn,
Yes.
it's a good song to change your voices about every eight bars also.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when you go to different types who wear a day coat, you might want to be on a different sound. And then when you get to the bridge, strolling up the avenue, you can change to a lower keyboard or hit another preset for a different sound. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can jazz that up as much as you want as far as changing your sounds. But the whole idea of this one is to get that rhythm so it feels right. And it's very difficult, and I don't think I'm playing it exactly right. But guess what? It feels right in my head. When I sing the lyrics, it feels right in my head. And if you listen, and then sing the lyrics along with Ella, or along with Gene Wilder, or along with Fred Astaire, or who else did this one? The very first guy that did it. Harry Richmond, yeah. They're very articulate with the lyrics. They have to be. You can't slur through them on this particular song. It's amazing, the dancing that they did. Check out some of the dancing, just any of them. The original musical, The Young Frankenstein, absolutely unbelievable. So, Ramon, you're a dancer. I am not worthy. It just makes me feel like, wow, how did they do that? Okay, any questions on putting on the Ritz? And then we'll put this one to bed and go to the next song. We good? All right. The next song is a complete change of pace. And it is Que Sera, Sera. Whatever will be, will be. And you know, grammatically, it's not good Spanish grammar. So this was actually written by an American who literally translated it into Spanish from whatever will be. And that's not how they really would say it in Spanish. So grammatically, you can't say that it's actually a Spanish or an Italian song because it doesn't really translate. The song was written by Jay Livingston and Ray Evans, first published in 1956. Doris Day introduced it in the Alfred Hitchcock film, The Man Who Knew Too Much. I did not know that was an Alfred Hitchcock film. Did you guys? Alfred Hitchcock, The Man Who Knew Too Much. The recording made it to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it became Doris Day's signature song. It's not Spanish. It's not grammatically correct. From 1968 to 1973, it was the theme song for the sitcom The Doris Day Show. Back when TV had some, it seemed like every celebrity had their own TV show. Perry Como, Doris Day, Donnie and Marie, Sonny and Cher. We don't see any of that anymore. That was good stuff. So Que Sera, Sera is a waltz. And song setup actually brings it up to an pa waltz at 160 beats per minute. This is also a song that only has one time through. There's no roadmap to this. I did add some extra chords. Yay! Remember, your extra chords are always optional. The waltz on this, I think it should be something that gives it a little more bounce, like the pa is good. Bistro Italiano is also very good. Those of you that have a carousel waltz, try that. A big band waltz is nice and bouncy. And guess what else I found works good on this? The chipmunk waltz. So if you've got the chipmunk waltz, go ahead and try that one because it actually works. You do not want one of the smoother guitar waltzes that, you know, kind of smoothly carries you along, or smooth orchestra 3/4. That's not going to really carry it. You want something that's going to give it a little bit of a bounce. So here we go on the pa waltz, song setup, Que Sera, Sera. do the same thing here. And either fade it out or hit one of your ending buttons. So the same thing there. You can do that little drum solo at the end of the song, hit your transpose up half a step. You can also change the sound if you want to, because you've got plenty of time. You can let that drum solo go as long as you want. Plenty of time. Push whatever buttons you want. Do whatever you want. And then when you come back in, it's a nice surprise. It just gives it a nice lift. A nice lift. Okay, so yes, you saw me playing extra chords. Not every measure, but almost. Now remember, chords are optional. If you just play the chords that are there, it's going to sound absolutely beautiful. And 160 is quick. It does move. This is not a slow waltz. This is a bouncier waltz. Okay, the no chord, remember how to make no chords. It's any 3 notes in a row. The C chord is good for 1 measure. The next measure over little, put in a C major 7. C, capital M-A-J 7. Your 2 notes are C and B, chickens and butterflies. The next measure over the G dotted half note for the word girl, boy. C6. Now, if you don't want to do a C6, just do a plain old C. C6 is a 4-fingered chord, and you must play it in this order. C, E, G, A. Chickens, elephants, gorillas, and alligators. If you play it in a different order, it's going to be an A minor 7, and it will sound minor, and it won't sound right. Right now, it's just a real pretty walk down. Da, 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 da. You can hear it as it changes, so it just gives it a little bit more motion. Line 2, first measure over the E. Plain old C. Plain old C. Second measure, no chord. Don't put a no chord. Keep it on a C. Keep it on C. Don't put a no chord. My bad. Third measure over the A for what? Put in a C sharp diminished. Or if you wish, a C sharp diminished 7. Diminished chords are easy. There are only 2 fingers, C sharp and G. If you wish to play all 4 fingers for the 7, it is C sharp, E, G, B flat. Next measure, cross out the G and replace it with D minor or D minor 7. Third line. First measure, G or G7 for the whole line. Wow. Fourth line, second measure over the F for here's, D minor or D minor 7. Third measure over the G, G7. And then the C chord is good at the end of the line. Okay, let's go to the second page. The F chord is good for one measure. Measure 3 over the A dotted half note. Put in an F major 7. F, capital M-A-J 7. 2 notes, E and F. Remember the rules for major 7s? It's the letter -1, the very next door note to the left. The last measure in that line, F6. Or if you don't want to play the F6 because it's a 4-note chord, just play plain old F. If you play the F6, you must play it in this order: F, A, C, D. F, A, C, D. Second line, first measure over the D, play a plain old F. The C is good for the rest of the line. Third line, first measure over the A for future C sharp diminished or C sharp diminished 7. C sharp DIM is 2 fingers. It's a C sharp and a G. It makes a beautiful lead-in chord. If you wish to play all 4 fingers, it is C sharp, E, G, B flat. Cross out the G and replace it with D minor or D minor 7. Third measure over the G dotted half note for the word C, put in a G7, gorilla 7. Next measure over the quarter rest, D minor 7, or just D minor, D and F. Fourth line, first measure over the F, put in a G7, G7. The chords are not that hard. I think the 6 chords are the hardest, and then getting that diminished chord in there. If you only learn 1 chord, learn the diminished chord. If that's the only chord you add, do the C sharp and G. All right, the second to the last line is G7 at the beginning. The C chord is good for 2 measures. Cross out the G at the end of the line and replace it with D minor or D minor 7. And the last line of the song over the F for B, put in a G7, G7, and that's it. Another super easy song, actually. Let's try this on, oh, I guess it doesn't matter. Let's try this on Bistro Italiano at 160. And we'll give it a little bit of a spaghetti flavor. Then if you wanted to do your no chord, your drum solo, go up half a step, play it again on a different rhythm or a different preset, that would be fabulous. Let's try something else. Let's go to, nope, I don't want that one. Let's go to the big band waltz. Let's try a carousel waltz. That's very close to that oom-pa-pa waltz. This one's kind of nice. And I want to check and see. Yes, we do. We have chipmunks here. Now, I don't think I'd recommend having Elvin sing it, unless you really want him to. Okay, we can do that. I'm using preset number 4, which is guitars and strings. Or if you wanted to have the chipmunks, I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, let's try it. Are your ears bleeding? But make it fun. Always, always make your music fun. Okay, let's do some fingering. C1, D2, E3, G5, E3, G5, E3, G5, E2, G4, E2, A5, G4, A5, G4, E2, F3. At the end of that held F, put a check mark. B3, C4, D5, C4, B3. A2, B3, C4, B3. Check mark. F3, G4, A5, G4. Low B1, C2. C5, B flat 4, A3, F1, A3. At the end of the line, the B is 4, D5, C4, A3, G2, C1, E2, F sharp 3, A5, G4, E2, G4, low D1, G4, check mark, D3, E4, F5, low B1, C2, D3, E4, F5, low B1 and C2, and that's it. But if the only chord, like I said before, for those of you who are just getting started and these extra chords are a little overwhelming, if you only learn one chord, try the C sharp diminished. It sounds really cool. C sharp and G, and absolutely cheat and write it in. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question, Dawn.
Okay.
I missed two chords. On the first page, item 2, line 2, measure 1.
Line 2, measure 1 is a plain old C, and that goes for 2 measures.
Okay, and then on page 2,
Huh?
line 3, measure 1.
Measure 1 is a C sharp diminished or a C sharp diminished 7.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Anybody else have questions? Sometimes there's just not a ton of things.
This
to-
one, line 1.
Yeah.
You had, I think in the third measure, you had a, I don't know, what did you have on line 1?
Page 1 or page 2?
Page 1.
Page 1.
Page 1.
The C chord is good for 1 measure.
Yeah.
Over the G for little, put in a C major 7, C capital M-A-J 7, which is C and B. And then
Got
the third measure is a C6 if you wish, or go back to just a plain old C.
Got it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. For next week, I have not chosen. Oh, we'll just do one song next week. We'll do Raindrops from Butch
Dawn?
Cassidy. Yes.
I have another question, sorry.
Okay. No, don't be sorry. My goodness.
On the C6,
Mhm.
the 4th chord, you play all 4 chords at the same time, or you play C, E, G, then A, and hold it down?
C, E, G, A. You must play those 4 notes at the same time.
At the same time?
At the same time, yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
It is a 4-fingered chord, and you must play them in that order, because if you don't, it will sound like here's a C6. If you put the C on top or the A on the bottom, all of a sudden it's an A minor 7, and it sounds minor. It's going to change the tonality. So 6 chords are just weird in the fact that you must play them with the root in the bottom. Always. Okay.
So we're coming out of the box.
Pardon?
So we're coming out of the box as far as the left hand goes.
Not on a C6, but on an F6 you have to.
Okay.
Yeah. On an F6 you have to. There's a, on a couple of them you'd absolutely have to. On an A6 you would have to. Yeah, because if you try putting that other note on the bottom, it will be a minor 7 and it will sound minor, and you definitely don't want that. That's why I said if moving your hand out of the box to play an F6 is not comfortable, just play plain old F and you're going to be fine. Okay, don't forget concert tomorrow, 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, tune in. It'll be myself and Randy on the beautiful Prestige Plus. And I'm going to have to spend all afternoon reprogramming because I had to say goodbye to the beautiful Liberty today. But that's life. That's what we do. We sell instruments. This one, by the way, is for sale. If anybody would like to come take a look at it, it is here in the classroom. So come on in anytime.
They're all for sale.
Pardon?
They're all for sale.
They're all for sale, yes. Absolutely.
Prestige Plus is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She has one.
I want to see her putting on the Ritz at 200.
Who, Dee?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
probably can.
In my old words, turn blue.
Dawn,
Yes.
this is Helen. Our past Dawn recitals are classes on YouTube already.
All of them except last Friday's because I stupidly forgot to record it.
Uh-oh, okay,
But all the rest of them, I haven't been doing this that long.
right.
This is what, my 10th? This is my 10th Zoom class.
Oh,
My 10th one. I'm doing 4 a week now. Yep.
All right, Ramon,
thank you.
it's your job to remind her.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Or
Don.
Wayne. Wayne's always there too. But Wayne's lounging on the beach there. I can see.
Having a margarita.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, Don,
Yeah.
Bill Curry slowed down my putting on the Ritz to 184.
He did.
Yep.
Seriously. Wow. He must have not had very much coffee that day. Yeah. You guys are the awesomest. I will see you all tomorrow at 1:00, and we'll have a good time. It's our first concert in 4 months. Oh my gosh. Yep. It's amazing that that much time has gone by since we last played together. And now you have the rules are you must bake your own chocolate chip cookies and brownies because Linda's not going to deliver them to everybody's homes. And that way you can have your own chocolate chip cookies and coffee right in front of you. Okay?
You can put in an order, I'll deliver.
You can come by, come by and visit.
Some of us will pick up.
There you go. There you go.
Okie doke, leave your name.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so
There's a-
much. We'll
Thank
see you
you, Dawn.
tomorrow.
Fletcher
Thank you,
concert.
Dawn.
Fletcher concert at 2. Fletcher concert today at 2:00.
Yes, a Fletcher concert today at 2, and it's Rick Anderson. And I have never heard him, but I understand he's very good. So I am teaching that hour, but I will pick him up tomorrow on YouTube and just see how he did, because I'm sure he's fabulous. Okay, I will see you all tomorrow.
Okay, bye, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn.
Bye.
Bye.